Hey everyone, this is Johnny FD and welcome to module 13 of the Dropship Lab course. This is the last module. Hopefully you've been going through this in order, and today we're going to be talking about automation, outsourcing, as well as weekly, bi-weekly, and monthly checkups on how to make sure your store continues to make money and continues to grow. Because the goal is to continue the sales up, to get your conversion rates better, to get more traffic, to get more sales and more profit. So that way you can make more money. And also, if you ever want to sell your store, it's going to be more valuable because you have an upward trend instead of a stagnant trend. So if you haven't been through the other videos yet and you want to check them out, they're all now on my YouTube channel. They're all published. They're all completely for free. There's a playlist so you can go through them in order. But if you really want to get the most value out of this, go to dropshiplab.com, enter your email, and you're going to get them in one big single email, drip fed day by day, with extra instructions, extra tips by me to kind of give you some heads up on what to really watch out for in this section. You have an invite to the private Facebook groups. You can ask each other questions, and I can help you as well. So make sure you go to dropshiplab.com, enter your email there, and let's get started. So first, a big question that people always have is, Johnny, how can I automate this so I can just go scuba diving every day or I can go surfing every day? And the good news with dropshipping is most of the things that you do require a front load. So you do a lot of work in the beginning. You're calling suppliers, you're uploading products, you're writing descriptions, you're getting your ads working. But once that's set up, then a lot of it is semi-automated. And here's the thing, when we call it passive income, we really don't mean it's passive income. At best, it's semi-passive income. So our sales come overnight while we're sleeping. So it's not like we are physically trying to get each sale. It's not like we're, at a branch trying to greet every customer, sell them product, and then ship them product. All that is done by either other people or by software. We're the ones that set it up, and then we can kind of set it and forget it. The downside to working the bare minimum, and I myself, as well as people I know, have literally worked like an hour a week on our stores once it's set up because things are kind of in place. The problem with that is you're not growing the store, you're not making it better, you're not getting more sales. And in general in life, if something is not growing, especially in business, if it's stagnant, it's not gonna grow by itself. If anything, it's gonna slowly decline. And that's bad for many, many reasons. One, your supplier doesn't like it because they're like, well, I was investing all this time and energy on trying to get you to sell more products, and now you're kind of dropping the ball. Second, your customers probably don't like it because if you're spending less time, you're probably not getting back to them as quickly. You're probably not, really, you're not focused, right? Like people can tell when you don't really care as much. And then third, if you ever want to sell the store, not only do you make less money now, but if you ever want to sell the store, people don't really want to buy a declining store. People like seeing that growth. And if you can sell it while it's growing, you can get a higher multiple. And by higher multiple, I mean you can get 32 or 35x profit if it's on an upward trend. And on a downward trend, you might at most get 27, but you might get 25 or even 20x. And just let you know what the difference in valuation that is. If you have a store that makes, let's say $1,000 a month, that's a very easy one, right? If you get 20x, you get $20,000 at the store. Not bad, but not a lot of money. If the store was on an upward trend, even if it was only making $1,000 a month, but it was on, it was like, that's kind of like the high point, right? It used to make only 600, then 700, 800, 900, then 1,000. Now, that store sells for a 30 or 35x margin because people, or multiple, because people see, oh, it's a store that's doing well, it has room to grow. Now you have $35,000 for that same store that's still making $1,000 a month. That's a huge difference between $20,000 and $35,000. Now, imagine that store was doing $3,000 a month in profit, which is not hard, that's like a normal store. You triple that. So do you want $60,000 in your pocket? Or do you want $105,000 in your pocket? That's a huge difference for the exact same amount of profit. This is why you always want to grow your store and even though I'm going to teach you ways to automate some of it, outsource some of it, you have to have these systems in place so it's always growing or at least maintaining. If you're maintaining, you can get 27x, maybe even 30x. And that's the difference between, getting, 60 grand for your store and getting 100 grand for your store. And if you are ever in that position where you aren't planning on growing anymore, and you think there's a chance of losing a supplier or more competition coming in or something, I would just sell the store. I mean, definitely run it for at least a year or two. That way you have the track record, it makes it easier to sell. But let's say you've sold it, you ran it for 2 or 3 years and you don't feel like you're gonna add more value to it, just cash out, invest that money. That money is gonna now make you 7% growth passively for the rest of your life. You're good. If anything, start another store when you have some motivation. That's what I did. So what are some of these automations that you can put in place today, whether you want to sell the store in the future or not? Because remember, having these systems and automations in place will help you not only take off, not have to repeat the kind of mundane processes every day. It helps your VA or your employees if you hire them. And I'll talk about that today as well. And if you ever want to sell the store, it's very easy to hand all that off. So step 1 in automation is, ironically, do everything yourself first. I know this sounds silly. I know that a lot of you, the very first thing you want to do is start looking around for software in the App Store that you can download. Don't do that. The only things that I would download right now is so basically do everything manually. And if you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is going to take me a long time to do manually, or there's just not a way, then look for a solution. Don't scroll through the App Store for the recommended things or the hot new item. Definitely don't do the hot new apps or up and coming apps. Don't just try to download stuff to download it. Do everything you need to do, and then if you get stuck or you're like, okay, this is gonna take a long time, find a solution. In general, for most people, including you watching this, the only 2 apps you're gonna need in the beginning is, one is something to tie your advertising feed. So instead of you telling Google well, these are the 100 items I have or 300 items I have, let me just manually do it. You just download the Google Shopping by Shopify app and it just links together and it just makes it so much easier. It ties it all together. But you won't know that until you're trying to connect to your Google advertising and be like, okay, well, how do I do this without manually uploading 100 products? That's when that comes in, and that's when you install that. So the second app that I will install is product reviews. You can do the product reviews by Shopify as well. And what's nice about that is, first off, it allows you to show reviews on your site because you want that. Because that's where you'll get stuck. You're like, oh, I really want to show reviews. There's no built-in option. Okay, let me install the Shopify Reviews app. So install that. And yeah, there are a bunch of different review apps. There's pros and cons of each. I just use the one made by Shopify. In general, if Shopify makes an app for it, I'll just use that. Because I assume they're going to make it as good as possible, or they bought a company that was the best. So I'll give you a couple examples of that later, but there's a couple apps that I used to use that Shopify just bought them because they're like, oh, this is a good company, let's just buy them. So you're running your store 100% yourself, you're doing it all manually. What you want to do is figure out what is taking the most amount of time and what can I do to either shortcut. First off, what can I eliminate? What doesn't need to be done? Second is, what then can I automate with these apps and the software? And then third, that's when you start thinking, well, I'm doing these things over and over again. Is there a way I can make it easier for me to do over and over again? And then the fourth thing that you would do then is hire someone, whether it's a VA or an employee or outsource. And that, but you have to do it in that order, because if you first just try to outsource it to someone and you're like, hey, please take care of all the customer service, they might be first off doing it incorrectly. They might not have the tools for it, or they might just be wasting their time and billing a lot of hours for no reason because there's a lot of inefficiencies. The first VA that I hired was an accountant. She was from the Philippines. She charged $2.50 an hour at the time. Now they're a little bit more expensive, but for $5 an hour, you can find a CPA with a degree, which is pretty crazy. And all I had her do was basically once a week go through my Shopify dashboard. So I made an account so she can see that, and all the emails, and basically populate in my spreadsheet that I made. And I've shared that with you guys in the accounting video earlier in the module. Basically, I just had her fill that out manually for me because I couldn't figure out an easy way to use an app to automate this. And sometimes there just isn't, because the way that I would find out how much something cost to ship was my supplier would first ship it, and then they would invoice me like 2 weeks later or a month later. And it was relatively easy because what I would do is I would first just guess how much it would be to ship, because when you do this for a while, you will end up selling the same products over and over again. And you'll know if it's this product shipped anywhere in the continental 48 states, it's $35 FedEx ground. So I just put $35 in. But what I'll have her do is go through the invoices and just double check that and make sure it actually was $35. Because once in a while, it's more. And you're like, well, why was the shipping on this double? Or, oh, how did we get a discount all of a sudden? And these are things that I personally can do manually, and you can do manually in the beginning. You want to do it manually, but eventually you're probably not going to bother, because you're like, well, I'm just going to assume it's going to be the same, so let's just not do that. But you can see why it's important, right? That's when you get an accountant or VA to do things like this. However, while I was training her, and the best way to train is going to be to create a screen share video. So you can use QuickTime. I use I don't know what it's called, ScreenFlow for Mac, but there's all these different ones you can use. You can even use Loom. But basically, you want to do a screen cast of you doing it. What I advise though is don't use that person's name. So if your VA's name is Angela, don't say, "Hey Angela, here's how to do it." Just say, "Hey, here's how to do the weekly accounting." That way, if Angela doesn't work out, and there's a very good chance either she is not going to do a good job, or she's going to do such a good job that she's going to leave you. So just know, whoever you hire, there's a 50-50 chance that in a few months they're not going to be there, or in a month they're not going to be there. So create the video, but make it very generic, and upload it to YouTube as unlisted, so anyone with the link can watch it, and that way it's just up there. Then send her that training video and say, okay, this is how you're going to update the accounting. The reason why this is so good is, first, by you doing it, you're showing her all the steps, and hopefully during that you'll be like, oh wait, why do I even do it like this? Well, why do we need this column? Let's eliminate that. So for me, I found that some of the columns that I used to have in my spreadsheet, like traffic source, that was helpful for me in the beginning, because I wanted to know, is it coming from a Google ad or a referral or something like that? But I was like, I actually don't need her to manually figure that out and write it down, because I can just run a report at the end of the month and I can just see everything there. So this is why it's good for you to manually do it yourself, eliminate anything that doesn't need to be done, and then record the kind of lean process, upload it as unlisted, and that way whoever you onboard can just watch this video 2-3 times if they need to, and then they can ask you questions after that. So that's a big secret. As of where to hire these VAs from, there are, if you want specifically a Filipino VA, there are sites. There's like onlinejobs.ph. There's some other outsourcing sites. However, honestly, I've had a really bad experience with them lately, because these companies have just grown so big that they're kind of like the Craigslist of job search now. Like, they don't vet them as well. A lot of the job seekers are just copy and pasting their resume. So it is a source to find it, but I wish I had a better solution. This is something that you guys can discuss in the Facebook group and try to share with each other. But hiring practices, what I always do and what I would recommend is, in the application, require them to send in a 1 to 2 minute video as unlisted on YouTube or whatever it is of them answering the questions. That way you can see, do they have the basic tech skills to record a video? Just a simple video. Do they care enough to be in a quiet room, and re-listen to it and make sure there's the sound is okay? Is their internet stable enough to even upload a video? And are they willing to do this annoying extra step to get a job? Don't ask too much, don't make people jump through too many hoops to get a job. But I like this a lot because not only do you get to know their personality a little bit, but it's also a test. And this is what I've been doing for my hiring for not just VAs, but with every business, and it's helped so much. So during this process of doing the work yourself, I actually kind of pick up a lot of little tricks. So for example, when I get a new order, I will basically forward that order to my supplier. But you're not going to just physically click forward and have them figure it out. That's a bit annoying. You want in the text, you want to say, hey Lisa, here's a new order for, yardelite.com. This is the, please ship this item, and you'll have one quantity X, the model number of whatever the item is, the color, all that info you need. And then you have the customer's address, phone number, all that stuff. And then you'll sign it. Say, have a great day, your name. And I used to write this manually. And it's fine in the beginning, just write it manually. But once you kind of figure out what you're always sending, turn this into a semi-automated script. There are apps that you can do to automatically do this, or you can even set up a Google filter to find something that says new order, fill this out, send it to this person. So you can 100% do that. I personally like to just look at it and just click the forward because it's not that hard to do. And I remember I went to Canada once with just my phone, and I bring my laptop, and I did that because Canada was cracking. I don't know why, man. Like Canada sometimes trips. Like, they're like, oh, why do you have a laptop? Are you working here? And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, not really. I'm not here to work in Canada, but I have to answer some emails during my 5-day trip here, and they pull you aside and they start grilling you, and I'm like, all right, next time I go to Canada, I'm not gonna bring my laptop. So I just had my phone, and because what I did was I had rewritten the new order notifications that Shopify sends me as a store owner, but I write it in a way where I can literally just copy and paste the entire thing and forward that to my supplier. It made it really easy for me to do from my phone. So I would get a new order, I would just I don't know why, just looking at it, I like having my eyes on it, but okay, this looks legit. There's nothing that I missed. It's not being shipped to Hawaii or Alaska or Guam, and I forgot to turn off that setting or something. This is why in the beginning it's good to just do these things manually, because I guarantee you're gonna end up getting, you're gonna mess up somewhere. You're gonna be like, oh, I didn't realize I was offering free shipping to Guam and Puerto Rico. Maybe I should double check this before I send out this order and lose a bunch of money. So because I had this on my phone really easily, I would just take a quick look, be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool. Select all, forward, put in the name of my supplier, which autofills, click send, and I was done. So I was able to do this while visiting friends in Toronto. And this is something your VA can do as well if you want to hire them, or if you're doing high ticket dropshipping like I am, and what Anton recommends, you're probably not going to have more than 2-3 orders a day because they're expensive items. So you can just do it yourself, especially if you're in the US time zone. The only reason why I started hiring people to do it while, instead of me just doing it, is because I'm in Thailand and I'm sleeping when that order comes in, and they'll lose a day of shipping if they have to wait for me to wake up and then forward that email because it's nighttime now for the US. If they had bought that during the day and somebody was on, can send it right away to my supplier, maybe it'll ship that day or very next day. So I only hired and outsourced this because I wanted it a little bit faster. So the next person I hired was a customer service person to answer phone calls in US time zone because I was in Thailand and I didn't want to pick up calls at 3 in the morning. And And here's the thing is I did pick up calls at 3 in the morning during those first 2 weeks because I was so excited to get a sale. I was like, I don't care. I will have my phone on. I'll pick it up and be like, hey, good afternoon. How can I help you? For those first 2 weeks, I would literally have it going to like a Skype number in the beginning until I realized that Skype was really unreliable. But I would just do that. And I was like, okay, I'll answer the calls myself. But luckily, I was in this crazy time zone where I was forced to hire right away. I think if I was in the US or in the same time zone, I would have just continued doing it myself, maybe forever, because I'm like, all right, well, I can do it. Like I'm not getting that many calls a day. You're getting like, 4 or 5 calls a day, and half of them turning into sales. So, why not do it? But because of the time zone, it really forced me to hire. And I looked at different call centers or companies, but it wasn't what I wanted because all of them would read some generic script and then basically just hang up on the person. And I'm like, come on, just use some common sense. Like if the person's saying like, hey, will this ship by tomorrow? And our website says we'll ship by tomorrow. Maybe they're just calling to confirm that. Maybe they're just calling because they want to hear a live voice and say, yeah, go ahead and buy it. Because it's a big ticket item and they're just like, they just want to speak to someone. I don't want someone sounding super generic. So what I did was I went on Fiverr, which is, I'm sure you use it now, maybe you make your logo or something. And I basically just searched for people who were willing to do customer service. And I was very specific to not take someone who was doing telephone marketing or like any like I wanted someone who wasn't getting a ton of calls but was going to be near a computer and phone all day. So I actually found someone who would only do email customer service, but I convinced them to also take phone calls. And that way I knew that if the phone was ringing, it would be my customers, and so they don't mix it up. Because what I didn't want is some guy to have like 10 different companies he was working for and mix those up, because that would screw things up. Eventually, I had to just hire an actual company because it was one person, and when he was good, he was great. And then I realized after a while, he just became unreliable. So what I did was I used a service called Conversational. I'll have a link to it below. And what I liked about them is they were kind of a hybrid where they would answer and they would know it's your business because the phone number would come in. And they would use that script the way that you want to answer. You can, they'll say, hi, my name is Alicia. Thanks for calling Yard Elite. How may I help you? And they would listen, and then they would have a FAQ that they can answer anything on here. So if someone says, hey, is the bamboo rectangle table in stock, model number Ceylon 244, they can just quickly look at this and say, oh, the ones that we don't have in stock are these. It's not on that. I can tell her, yes, it's in stock. It's made by Ceylon, bamboo. Those typically ship in 3 to 5 days. So she can answer these very basic questions as if she was an employee, which I really liked. It was also charged by minute. And I knew that most of my calls were not gonna be that long, so it was fine. And I was able to listen to the recordings, so I could see how they're answering, and I can then the next day say, hey, next time please answer it this way instead. So there's a bunch of different companies. I actually haven't used them for a while because I have people in the US now partnering with me for my stores, and they're actually handling the customer service. But there are companies like this out there, which is nice. And things change all the time. I'm gonna try not to recommend companies or apps specifically for 2 reasons. One is they change all the time, right? For example, online jobs at PH now sucks, or at least the last time I used them, they suck, and I don't recommend them. But if you asked me 5 years ago, I'll be like, yeah, they're amazing, they were the best. So that's reason number one. Second is price models change. Where something that used to be really affordable, cheap, or maybe even free, as they get popular, they start charging more, or they change their pricing structure. And then now it's like, well, there's this other alternative that's better or the same and it's cheaper. So why not go for them? So I'm gonna give you an overview of some of the tools that I use, what to look for, but then it's up to you to do your research to see what is currently good. And also this is why it's so important to be in our Facebook group, so you can ask the other members, hey, what do you use for this? And they can give you up-to-date information on what they're currently using. So if you're somehow not part of the Facebook group yet, make sure you go to dropshiplab.com, put in an email, and once you start getting emails, you'll get an invite to that private Facebook group. And if you got declined or you didn't get approved yet, make sure you actually answer all the questions, because I automatically decline anyone who doesn't fill out all the questions. So to continue, what are some things, like what does it look like, the whole kind of automation outsource flow, okay? First month, maybe even 2 months, I do everything myself. If I get stuck somewhere, I look to see if there's an app. The third is I rewrite all the scripts, all the confirmation emails to me and to the customer to make it sound more natural speaking. So instead of being the stock, like, emails that Shopify will send out, nobody wants that, right? Like, have you ever gotten a really generic sounding email from a company? Like, this is spam. But what if they wrote it in a very candid way that sounds like it came from a person? Then you're happy to read it. So that's what I did. Then I start outsourcing the things that just I don't have time to do or I don't want to continue doing, making sure there's a good ROI for that. And then lastly, I started looking for other apps to make either more sales or make my life better. So a couple that I installed, one is retargeting. So in the beginning, if you watch the ads video, whatever module that was, I told you, let's say you're starting with just Google Shopping because you're following kind of the Anton method style, eventually you're gonna want to retarget and start showing them like Facebook ads. But instead of manually doing that, what you can do is you can use a service. So two of them, one is AdRoll, the second is Perfect Audience, the third is whatever the new great one is that is currently better or cheaper. All right, that's something for you to ask in the group or explore. These will install Pixel, and you want to install this relatively early because they need time to start tracking your visitors to come in. So this is something that you probably want to do after you start making sales, right when you start making sales, even though you don't turn it on yet. Even though you don't turn on the retargeting yet. And the reason why you want to go through them instead of manually doing it is it's just easier, and sometimes it ends up being cheaper too. So the other app that I really liked, but is an example of one that changed their pricing policy, is AfterShip. They used to charge way too little. It used to be basically not even 8 cents. It was like an eighth of a cent or something per email they sent out. And they were assuming that we'd be sending out hundreds or thousands of emails a month, and that's how they would make money. But because I sell high ticket items, I would only sell between 30 and 60, maybe at the most 90 orders a month. So they weren't sending that many emails. So my bill every month would be like $2 or something. It was really, it was less than that sometimes. It was really cheap. Now they have a free plan that doesn't send the emails, so it's not that useful. So the base plan is now $9, which isn't a big deal. If you're selling, if your store is selling, I would say 30 or more orders a month, then it's worth it, right? But in the beginning, just do it manually. And the way that AfterShip works is they will automatically scrape any tracking updates with like UPS, FedEx, and they will send either an SMS or an email to your customer every time there's an update. And this is one of those things you want to rewrite into your personal voice as well. So with Shopify, when you put in like the tracking number, it'll send one email and say, here's a link, you can track your package anytime. And maybe 1 out of 20 customers will actually go in and check it. But it's annoying, right? That they log in the email, look for that look for that actual link, click it, try to track it, and then they're like, oh, there's still no update. Aftership, and I'm sure there's other programs now that do the exact same thing, maybe even for less money. So that's something you want to ask in the group, or do your own research. They will automatically basically just scrape FedEx and UPS to look for updates all the time. And as soon as there's one, they will automatically email or SMS your customer. And what I really liked about these automatic emails is you can rewrite the template. So I would write like, hey, first name, just let you know, like, I just want to give you hey, this is Johnny from YouAreTheElite.com. Just let you know your package item, blah, 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 is now on the truck in New Orleans or whatever it is. I'll keep you updated when it gets to your state. So like, how like if you ever look through the UPS or the FedEx kind of a history, it first goes from, leaves the warehouse in San Diego, now has arrived at the warehouse at FedEx headquarters in Dayton, Ohio, or whatever it is. Now it's on a truck in your home city. These are all things that you can trigger as updates. And in the beginning, I was like, why? Like, nobody needs to know this. They just need to like have the tracking number so they can check it themselves. But what I found out is when you are the customer and you're waiting for a big purchase, not some like random crap from Amazon you don't really need that you probably didn't need to order anyways. But if you're buying an expensive item like $1,000 item or even a $500 item, you're very appreciative when that company is so meticulous in saying, hey, it's now left the manufacturer's warehouse in San Diego. It's now arrived in the state next to you at their UPS location. Like tomorrow, it's going to go on a truck to you, to your city. Now it's on a truck to your city. They're going to try to deliver it this afternoon. And then the ones that I get personal responses from all the time of people thanking me are, hey, it's been left at your front porch or with your neighbor or something like that. People will always email me back because I write it in such a personal way. They'll say, thank you so much, Johnny. I've called my neighbor and asked them to bring it inside for me. People really appreciate that. That's how you get really good reviews, really good word of mouth, and just happy customers. And this is through an automation. Literally, I just set it up once and then it just automatically does it. It's like having the best customer service on autopilot. That's something that I would highly recommend. All right, so you have maybe a VA or someone to do a lot of the things like customer service that you just physically can't do or don't want to do. You have software in place, rewritten forms to automate things as much as possible. You've already done all the work yourself for the first couple of weeks or months, so you know what you needed to eliminate, you know what you needed to outsource, you know where you got stuck. Now, can you just walk away? Can you just be like, okay, John, I'm gonna go hang out with Johnny by the beach in Sri Lanka? Yes and no, right? As we said earlier, it will maintain those sales, but if you're not growing, it's slowly gonna decline. And so here's what I would recommend, is you wanna have a daily, weekly, bi-weekly. I hate that term because did you know that bi-weekly literally can mean either twice a week or every 2 weeks, and they're both correct definitions. But bi-weekly as in every 2 weeks, and then once a month, things you wanna do. I try not to have anything I need to personally do daily, but in the beginning it would be fulfill orders, make sure, check your emails, check your voicemails, check your abandoned carts. These are things that you want to do daily. Weekly, it could be things like make sure your ads are running and that you're not going over budget. Make sure you check to see with your supplier what's in stock or not. Follow up with customers who've gotten the product. Ask them how the experience was. and then ask them for a review. And then follow up again the next week and say, hey, thanks for writing the review. Or, if you get a chance, can you please leave us a review on this product page? Here's the link. It really helps future customers make decisions. And once a week, you also want to just look for reviews. How can you get more reviews? Either if it's not through customers, do I look on other websites to see if they have any new reviews I can copy and paste and put on my site? And this is something I talked about in the other video. This is kind of that gray zone area where, maybe you want to put at the bottom, like from Amazon or from Wayfair or whatever, but, once a week, maybe you want new reviews, so you can start growing that up. And also, so all the new reviews don't look like they came from the same day, at least they're spread out. And then once a week, I call suppliers that either I couldn't get in touch with or rejected me. I just call them once a week and just be like, hey again, trying to reach out, just let you know I've been selling a lot of blah, blah, blah's products, or hey, just whatever it is. Once a week, just call them. If they rejected you anyways, and you really want them on board, minimum once every 2 weeks, call them, remind them that you're still in business, that you're selling their competitors' products, that you really want to work with them. And they might just keep hanging up on you and saying, stop calling me, but they might be like, this person is really dedicated. They probably are going to treat my customers really well. They're probably great at selling. I'm going to eventually get them on board. Or also just to follow up. Like, I'm sure you get a lot of suppliers that are like, yeah, I'll approve you. And then you just don't hear from them again. They're like, oh yeah, I'll send you the application. You don't hear from them. Then like, they get the application, they don't send you the price list, whatever it is. So this is a good time, once a week, follow up with that. Also, very important, once a week, you want to make sure that you're price matched, because when customers come to your page, if you're more expensive than another competitor, they're probably not going to buy from you. You never want to undercut them with pricing, but you want to make sure it's matched. So once a week, search some of your products, maybe all your products, and make sure first off you're showing up in the ads, and then second that your price is matched with everyone else. And once a week, I look at all the products that people have clicked, literally all the ones that have gotten more than 5 clicks, and I ask myself, how many of these did I sell? If 10 people clicked it and 0 people bought it, why? Is there something wrong with the product? Is there something wrong with the checkout process? Is there something wrong with the pricing? Are the photos crap? Are there no reviews? Why have 10 people click this product and costed me $5 and nobody bought anything? And that's assuming a very high conversion rate. But if you start getting to a point where you're getting like 30, 40, 50 clicks on a product and nobody's buying it, there might be something that you can do better, and people are interested in it. So why not spend 5 or 10 minutes rewriting the copy, trying to find more photos, trying to find reviews, and making sure that the process works. That's very, very important. I would say this is something that I'm always on the case with my partners, and I'm like, guys, once a week you need to do this. Why did 80 people click this the last 2 weeks and nobody bought one? What is wrong with this product? And it's usually something like there's no reviews, the photos are terrible, or they're still using the stock descriptions. They're not listing the benefits, they're just listing the features. And that's something that you would learn in the other video. These are very important things. These are very basic things, but I guarantee you if you do these basic things, you're gonna make so many more sales and so much more money. And once every 2 weeks, call your supplier. And you're probably emailing them all the time, but especially if you're selling products with them, like if you're not selling any of the products, focus on trying to sell some of his products first. But as long as you're making orders with them, you want to talk to them on the phone at least once every 2 weeks, ideally once a week. Think of them as a coworker or a partner or a business partner. You want to maintain that relationship. I would, like clockwork, once a week, once every 2 weeks max, just get on the phone with my best suppliers and just be like, hey David, how's it going? How's your week been? We'll talk a little bit about, the latest episode of whatever TV show that we both are watching. I'll ask them, ask him about his kids, his family, ask what his weekend plans are or what he did over the weekend. Treat them like you would a coworker or a customer or like a business partner. and then talk, and honestly, sometimes I call and I don't even really have any business related stuff. I'm just like, oh my God, did you hear that? That was a monkey that just was running across the roof. I'm in Sri Lanka, if you guys didn't realize. So I just call them and just catch up with them. And sometimes, like, you try to have an excuse on why you called, but sometimes I'll just call them and be like, hey, just, wanted to check in, see how everything's going, if there's any updates I need to know. That is it. It is these little things of treating it like a real business and not just an online store, I guarantee you will make your life so much better. It'll improve your supplier relationships. They might even get you better pricing. They might give you little secrets, like tips and tricks. Like, I had one of my best suppliers like telling me, like, hey Johnny, why aren't you selling more of this product? This is such a hot seller right now. Or, hey, this is going to be a hot seller. Or, hey, make sure you bundle this with this because people are always buying it together. Like, you'll get insights that you would normally not get otherwise. And by having a relationship, that means that if you're ever back in town and you call them and say, hey, I happen to, I'm going to be in California. Do you want to, should I drop by and say hi? That establishes even more. And these are things you won't need to do, but it is very, very helpful. And this is something that I haven't shared publicly, but I think it was 2016 or 2017, I've always given a lot of information about dropshipping online. I've always talked about this as a viable business model and encourage people to take Anton's course because that's what I've taken. And then you get haters online. You get people on YouTube saying, oh, e-commerce doesn't work, online business doesn't work, or, blah, blah, blah. And you get all these idiots online who have never done it themselves, or they've only followed some shady, AliExpress model from dropshipping from Walmart or something. And they just don't understand because they never took the time to learn how to do it properly. They don't realize it's real business. So I actually had one of these assholes call they definitely didn't call because they're too scared to call probably. They emailed my supplier and they're like, just to let you know, Johnny doesn't even live in the US. He's in Thailand. He's a scammer. He's scamming all these customers. And then basically just said all this crap, all these half truths, right? Like, yeah, I was in Thailand, but I wasn't scamming anybody, and he's like, yeah, 20 years ago, Johnny, used to be a douchebag at clubs and used pickup lines on girls, and I'm like, yeah, that was true as well, but that was like literally 20 years ago. I was kind of an idiot and I was really insecure. So yeah, that was me. And I do have photos of me wearing Ed Hardy with a lip ring with a bottle of champagne looking like an idiot. And yeah, I used to think that was like a correct way in life. So yeah, I've had a colored past, right? Yeah, Johnny, admitted that he did ecstasy back when he was 19. Like, yeah, I did that, But they try to use these things against me to paint me as a picture of I'm in Thailand scamming customers. And thank God I had a great relationship with the supplier. I had spoken to her on the phone every day for months. Well, not every day, every week for months. And I happened to have met her in person when I was there last time. And actually, even the other supplier, who I didn't meet in person, but I'd spoken to him, once a week for months as well. They both were concerned, right? They both, say, hey, just let you know, I got this email, and I just talked to them. I was like, look, these are just some online, idiots. I was like, at the end of the day, feel free to contact any of the 300 customers that I've sold to and just ask them how their experience was with me and my company. And I will guarantee you they had a positive experience and nobody got scammed. So I didn't hear from them for a day. It was stressful, to be honest. I was a bit worried. Just because you never know, right? You never know. Someone's gonna be like, oh, well, now I can't trust you. You're in Thailand, or you're not actually sitting in California where I thought you were. And luckily, they're like, yeah, I looked into it. Like, I called some of the customers. They've all loved the experience. Like, sorry for these haters, basically. So if it wasn't for the fact I had a good relationship with these suppliers and they knew me as a person, that they might have just listened to that and be like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, Johnny is in Thailand. He must be scamming people. So this is a pro and con about being so out there, sharing what works. Because on one hand, I'm generally helping a lot of people, maybe like you, who want to be able to create an online business that works and be able to not work a 9-to-5 job or not have to, work for a company. Really create your own business, create your own future, create your own, your own legacy. On the other hand, by me publicly talking about it, not only do I get people trying to hijack my niche or just copy my stores outright, or try to even sabotage my stores, like in this case, or try to hate on me as a person, for promoting online business or this lifestyle of living abroad while running a business. It's coming with its challenges and pros and cons. But at the end of the day, screw them. Like, I'm really enjoying my life out here. My customers are happy. That's very, very important. They've gotten a positive sales experience, and the suppliers are happy because we're making them money. And at the end of the day, we're not selling a bunch of like cheap crap from China or from AliExpress and marking it up. And I hope you're not going through that model. I've really tried to steer you away from that. And we're really adding value in the world. So I hope that you've gotten a lot out of this course. One of the reasons why I made this completely free is because even though I really genuinely 100% believe that Anton's course is the best way to go. I mean, first off, if you've thought I've given you a lot of knowledge in this 4-hour course, these 13 videos, I have. But his goes even more in depth. All of his are screen shares, so you can really walk through it. It's like over the shoulder videos with a mentor. He has all this help in there. His community is really, really good. Like, it's the best community I've ever seen online, because people are spending thousands of dollars to be part of a course. They're serious. They're not some like random people online who just dabble into things. They've committed. They've invested in themselves. They invest in the business. And there's people in that course who are doing really, really well. They're making 6 figures a year, living in places like Thailand. Or they have families, and they just have, like, I think more than half of the people in his course are people in the US or in Australia. They have a family, and their husbands or wives work in a normal business, and they're just a stay-at-home mom or dad. And they're just like, well, you know what? I don't want to work a 9-to-5, so I'm just going to work in this business because this makes me a similar amount of money or even more than if I had a normal job, but I had the flexibility and the freedom to work from wherever I want. And I've met so many of them now in the retreats in Chiang Mai, in Krabi, in Prague, and it's been extraordinary. Like, it really has. It's been so cool meeting these people in person, hearing their stories. Also once in Bali as well. Every year Anton has these annual retreats with just the members, and you'll realize that most of them, like 99% of them, are running their businesses. They don't have a blog, they don't have a YouTube channel. They're just normal people running a business, and they're making money, and they're helping each other out in the forums and the Facebook group. And Anton basically just taught them everything that he knows. So I've been trying to do the same with my free time here under lockdown, but it has to come to an end, because this video and all my videos have been a lot of work, a lot of energy to put out there. And unfortunately, I don't have the time to hold everybody's hand. So that's why I created the Facebook group, so you can help each other out. And I'll try to go in once in a while to answer questions, but really it's for you guys to help each other out. So please do your part. And then second, I've given you as much knowledge as I physically can dump out of my head in these last 13 videos. And this is why this one is so long, even though I was planning for this to be like a 20-minute video. This is the last video, so I really want you to have as much information as possible to be a successful business owner. If you've gone through all these videos first, before you start your store, you have everything you need to know. Go back, actually do the work, because nobody's gonna do it for you. You have to do the work. But if you've done this in order, and now you're already making sales, you're now thinking about hiring and automating, congratulations. I'm very, very proud of you. Please share your success with other members of the group, because it inspires them to put in that work, to pick up the phone, call suppliers, to upload products, to go through this journey. It's a hard journey as an entrepreneur. It's a very lonely journey. And if you've been through these videos and you're like, Johnny, I need more help. I really need someone to build the site for me, because even though with these templates, that's not something I'm good at. Or Johnny, I need someone to help me more, with niche selection. I'm just very unsure. Even though I know you gave me all the information, I just need more information, or I need someone to hold my hand through. I need a coach. This is when I would say sign up for Anton's course, because it works. I guarantee you it works. And I guarantee that with the info that you got through these videos, plus the info that you're gonna get from there is no reason why you can't have a successful store. So if you wanna sign up for that, you can use my link. It's antonmethod.com. I'll have a link to it below. He has a free webinar you can watch so you can get to know his personality, his methodology of how he teaches. I would highly encourage everybody to watch that, even if you don't plan on signing up, because it's free information. It's really good information. Go to antonmethod.com, sign up for that. And that is it, guys and gals. Hopefully I'll see you somewhere in the world. If you end up having a very successful store and you want to buy me dinner, I'd love to meet up with you and celebrate, your first or your 100th sale. So let me know if we're ever in the same city. Today's literally my last day here at this place in Sri Lanka, so it's perfect timing to wrap this up. And this is almost an hour long, so I really need to wrap this up. But that is it. Join the Facebook group, dropshiplab.com, if you want to share this series with everyone else. Congrats on whatever accomplishments you have on your store so far. Let's get it up there. I would love to see some people replace their 9-to-5 incomes or have these big stores because of this video series. Nothing would make me prouder. And thank you to Anton for teaching me everything that I know about dropshipping, and basically for allowing me to travel and replace my 9-to-5 job for the last 7 years, and now be able to share this information with others. So I'm very eternally grateful. I do hope that you guys support him if you can, or if you want more information. If you want, he literally has packages where he will build the site for you. He'll get on the phone with you. Him and his team. He has coaches who have been through his program, been successful, so he trains them up. It's really a really good program. And the only reason why I don't want to coach is I just don't have time. I want to do other things, and to be quite honest, I've made enough money now from the stores, from selling the stores and investing it, where I don't actually need to work. And that's the only reason why I'm not just constantly building and selling stores now. I have enough saved up. I didn't spend any of the money. Literally out of the $250,000 I've now made from running the stores and selling the stores, I invested all of it. And that money is making me money, and I'm living off of that. And I had all these other projects that I did that has also earned me money, mostly passively throughout the years, and I've saved all of that as well. So I'm in a very comfortable position where I don't need to work. I only came back to make this series because I genuinely felt bad for people who were just stuck, that just had no option. They're like, I want to learn this, but I just can't afford to take the course, or I'm not sure if it's for me. I want to know more about it before I drop $2,000 or $3,000. I wanted to be able to help you guys. I want to be able to eliminate all excuses on why someone can't do this. So here we have it. So thanks guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this series. If you did, please, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, tell your friends, join Dropship Lab. Tell them, hey, it actually was free. Johnny actually uploaded all 13 videos, and he did as promised. I hope you guys, if you've been following me for a few years, know by now that I'm a man of my word. And it's been a ton of work, recording these videos, editing them, uploading them, putting it all together. It ended up actually being more work than I expected, but I hope it pays off for all of you. So, I hope to meet you somewhere online or in person. I host the Nomad Summit every year. If you want to see where the next event for that is, go to nomadsummit.com. I have a podcast called Travel Like a Boss Podcast, where I interview other people who work online, are successful. And yeah, you can follow me on Facebook. Just look for Johnny FD, on Instagram, Johnny FD. Just kind of wherever you hang out. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys somewhere in the world. Let me know how your store goes, and hopefully we can celebrate together. Ching ching, guys. Take care.
Player moves, I make player moves. All we do is make player moves. Player moves, I make player moves. All we do is make player moves. Player moves, I make player moves. All we do is make player moves. Player moves, I make player moves. All we do is make player moves. Yeah, ain't nobody even triller. Yeah, I'm suited up, but I roll with killers. Affiliated with the city's gangsters. I like bubble butts like Major Lazer. Peep game, I'll educate ya. Air Force Ones with a Navy blazer. Businessman, I got a business plan. I got businesses out distant lands. Rooftop parties filled with models. Strictly dimes, that's the motto. Taylor suits and exotic autos. And every DJ got me on Serato. I'm different, yeah, I'm different. Do what I want, don't ask permission. To learn from the best, cost tuition. So when I speak, bet they listen. Player moves, I make player moves. All we do is make player moves. Player moves, I make player moves. All we do is make player moves. Player moves, I make player moves. All we do is make player moves. Player moves, I make player moves. All we do is make player moves. Yeah, I got knots in my pockets. Take the cash and invest for a profit. Cruise the city, a Mercedes Benz. All my lady friends is